Right. Okay. So we do have an early caller. So let's see if we can maybe take Keith, and then when the senator comes in, we'll go to Senator Collins. Straight to the listener calls. I feel like sometimes I like to kind of kick it off and, go into some of the topics that are more top of mind. But this is kind of right on par because we have Keith and he wants to talk about Trump and the economy. And you guys know me, I'm a numbers guy. I love to talk about economics. Let's talk about it. Keith, you're on the Rickey Hendon radio show. What's going on?
How you doing, Rickey Henderson? Love everybody.
Actually, you know what?
18.
It looks like, Keith, if you mind if we put you on hold there. We got Senator Collins calling in right now, so let me go ahead and we'll get her queued up, and Keith will come back to you. Give me 1 second.
Awesome. All right, I'm just going to place you on hold real quick, and I'll push you through. All right.
All right.
All right.
This is... There we go. Bear with me, everybody. Sorry about that. A little bumpy start, but it's only my second show in, so many years. We got to, warm up a little bit and get going. But once we get flowing, an hour flies by. Are we live? Is this Senator Collins?
Yes, it is. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Senator Collins, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
Happy Saturday, and thank you for joining us today. What's top of mind for you? I guess we can start there. There's a lot going on in the world right now, ain't it?
Oh, yes, it is. There's a lot going on. Right now, I'm just getting myself prepared to go back down to Springfield for veto to finish out the last week.
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking about, all the work we got to do to close out the last week of veto.
Oh my gosh. And Senator Collins, let me give you your credit for, what you do. My father served in the Illinois State Senate for about 15 to 20 years, but he was in, politics even longer than that. And the sacrifice that state legislators make, that y'all don't get paid very much, but you have a 24/7 job. What I mean? I remember there were times where in the middle of the night, there would be people banging on our door because some domestic dispute had happened, and they wanted, my father to step up to the plate and to help mediate a situation. So I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you to all of our state legislators. I know politicians as a general get, kind of a bad rep, especially because of what happens at the national level. But you all make a lot of sacrifice. So I want to give you your flowers, especially taking over that district.
Thank you. And your father is definitely a legend and someone who I do still ask for advice from time to time because he knows a lot. He knows a whole lot, and he has a lot of history, in this space. So I value that.
Certainly. So tell us a little bit about, yourself and, so people can understand, your background, what some of your initiatives are. Again, the first caller was already calling in about the economy. There's a lot going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
SNAP, there's only so much that the state can do to actually kind of fill a lot of those budget gaps that we have. But I'll just let you start with, yourself, your background and, your initiatives.
Yeah, thank you for that. I started off as a nursing home worker. I was a nursing home worker. I'm a mother of three. I worked in a facility for about maybe 11 years. And I got heavily involved with my union, SEIU Healthcare, Illinois. And the union covers, we cover nursing home workers, hospital workers, home care, and child care workers. The union, it is the members, right? We are the drivers of the organization. And it's predominantly women, Black women, brown women, immigrant women as well. And we have men there, too, service workers. And so I pretty much got a lot of my voice from being active in the union. It opened up a lot of doors for me as far as learning how to organize different workspaces, being a part of really big national campaigns. Some of them I have led those campaigns as well. So it kind of built me up to be the leader that I am today. And so I owe a lot to a lot of the people who invested a lot into me. And so I talk about them a lot whenever, I, give a speech or something because they truly, saw some potential in me and motivated me to step up to the plate. So fast forward, I ran for state rep first of the 9th district. And I didn't really believe that I can do that, but I did, and it was because of community. It was because of course, labor, and the people, they gave me a chance. And when I got in, I just, did everything I could. But of course, I was hit with the pandemic. And so that was really, really challenging because we were on lockdown. And so I couldn't really see a lot of the constituents, but I had to find different creative ways in how to communicate. Yeah. And so with the help of, I love my brother. May he rest in paradise, Commissioner Dennis Deere. He really took me under his wing. Commissioner Michael Scott as well. Mm-hmm. They kind of helped me, and some other leaders too. They helped me to kind of figure it out as well. And so I just kept pushing, right? Kind of worked my way up, became the House Black Caucus chair, and then kind of stepped up to the plate.
I gotta clap it up for that real quick,
Thank you.
Those leadership positions are not easy. Mm-hmm.
It's not because you're leading other leaders, right? And everybody have a different interest. They're coming from different spaces, different skill sets. And so I really had to learn my colleagues. I'm still learning my colleagues, to be honest. Yeah. But, opportunity came up. Our former Senator, Patricia Van Pelt, she retired. She reached out, and I think she reached out to several other people as well. Long story short, I got in.
Amazing.
Ran a special election, and, since I've been in the Senate, I've just, hit the ground running and double the responsibility. Learning a whole new district is definitely a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm someone who never backs down from a challenge. And so I just, took the skills from the House that I learned and, my natural, things that I picked up from others and just kept pushing forward. So that's how I got here.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Thank you for that, Senator
Collins. The shortest version.
Yeah. And I know it. When somebody asks you your story, it's like, man, where do I begin? I was born in 19, I mean, there's a lot there, but I think there's so many parts of your path that people can learn from. There's a lot of things I want to talk about, but specifically, I want to go back to the organizing, right? And being a union organizer, right? Because I think in this moment, with everything that we're seeing going on at the federal level, which is now trickling down to the state and local level, more than ever, I'm seeing people trying to find ways to organize, right? And you were able to do that successfully. There's a lot of groups that are on the ground. I've been at 1930 Beach Street helping, protest with people and meeting people when people are organizing through, Signal and Discord and all these different modern ways. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of, traditional tools of organizing that people can lean into as well if they want to get involved and find ways to help push back locally on some of the things that are happening federally, like, for example, the food shortages that are about to happen, unfortunately, with SNAP. Right? And there's, an organization that I work with, Indivisible Chicago. We're going to the Chicago Greater Food Depository to help, get food out to people. So there's a lot of ways that you can do that. But can you talk a little bit more about that, like, and what that looks like, and if anybody's listening, what they can do to be a leader themselves as they try to organize?
So, I come from organized labor, which is a little bit different from community organizing. And I think some people get that kind of mixed up a little bit, right? I think that organized labor, you're organizing folks in the workspace. You're organizing them on like a larger scale, which actually does adopt into what I would say a national movement, right? I'll take the Fight for 15 for an example. This was a movement where a lot of people laughed. They didn't think it was real. They thought it was impossible, right? There were even other elected officials that thought this wasn't going to be a real thing, that, it would never happen here. And I remember my mentor, Shaba Endridge, shout out to him. He's the director of the nursing home division. And he told me one day, he said, hey, they just won 15 in New York. We're going to go out there. I want you to come with me. We're going to pick up the blueprint. We're going to bring it back to Chicago. And I think this thing's going to go national. Now, I didn't quite understand where he was coming from, but he was someone, again, he was younger at the time. I was young. I think I was like early 20s. And I said, okay, fine. We go, we take the blueprint, bring it back, and it sparked a national movement because it wasn't just about fast food workers. It was about working class people in general. And it was a message around the fact that folks were stuck on these jobs that were normally for youth, you know, during the summer, or kids who had got out of school. And it was something temporary, but it became something more permanent because of how, you know, capitalism and how workers are exploited all the time on a job. And me personally, I had the experience of a fast food worker, right? I worked in a brickyard. I worked over there on Cicero at Taco Bell. I worked as a home care worker and a nursing home worker and a hospital worker. And I will tell you, those wages just, they never, they never climbed up. And then the rent was too high. Yeah. And so, you know, we taught people who to be angry at. You know, don't be angry at each other. There's someone who is responsible for wages being stagnated, for rent being too damn high, and for you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
I want to pause you on that point, and Keith, thank you for holding. We'll get to your call. We'll have you ask your question here soon. But who to be angry at, I think, is such an important way of kind of framing what's going on right now, because I think a lot of people acknowledge the fact, Senator, that there are a lot of things that are happening right now in the country that they don't like, right? Even if you poll people that are very far right, you know, they say that the country is not going in the right direction, right? But it's like, where do you direct that anger to have the most impact? And, you know, I don't like to live in the world of anger, but at the end of the day, like, if you can't feed your family, I mean, you're going to be angry at somebody, but, you know.
You want to know why, right?
You want to know why. And that actually reminds me, you know, you did a town hall with the West Side elected officials, which was, you know, fantastic, by the way. Shout out to everybody that helped put that on. But, you know, I remember a woman specifically was asking about some of the healthcare subsidies, right? And she was asking about why can't the state just, you know, make up that gap? You know what I mean? So I don't have to pay out of pocket. And it's like, well, hold up. And you had to check her kind of, and you're like, listen, this isn't a desire problem. This is a math problem. You know, like we just don't have the money to do that. And unfortunately, you know, this is something that the federal government has to do. They have to release these funds, right? Like, so I wanted to pause you on that because I think that's
they have to release the funds, and they have to be. So what I noticed, you know, even when I first became a state rep, right? And this is why I was saying it's the difference. I think both tools, community organizing, organized labor, both are very, very, very important. Yeah. Because the number one recipe is face-to-face conversations with people. You have to talk to people and meet them where they are. Everyone doesn't know who their elected official is. Now, I'm not going to say that it's by design, but what I would say is that we have to do better. Right? Yeah. I think when it comes to the Democratic Party, the message has to be clear, and they have to make sure that the masses know what's going on. It's not a secret, right? And it shouldn't be a secret. The purpose of being a public servant is to make sure that you're educating the people what you're doing, being open and transparent. And that way they're not confused. They're not at home angry. They're not running up their blood pressure trying to figure out, well, where are my taxes going? Why am I, not seeing what my taxes are doing? If you tell them that, hey, we put this amount of money into this project so that our roads and bridges can be fixed, or, hey, your state reps, your state senators, they're responsible for making sure that funds go to the roads and the bridges, and we give money to the park districts as well. We send money to the aldermen to help them fix some of their roads and, some of their, pavements and lighting and things of that nature. And we're not responsible for your trash cans. We're not responsible for the potholes on the streets. We're responsible for the highways, though. Yeah, we're responsible for, certain parts on the expressway. So it's like there's a big disconnect. And so when you have folks who are on social media or on their podcast, and they're not as informed, or sometimes they are informed, but they're manipulating the public. You can cause a lot of chaos and people to be upset at the folks for the wrong reasons. And so what I do is I make sure that anytime I'm talking to a constituent, I am educating them on the process, whether it be about the budget, bills, how to flip a yay or nay, how to contact me, I'm inviting people to come down to Springfield. I'm organizing with organizations. Hey, bring busloads of folks to come down. They need to come to their house They need to see everybody.
house.
Don't just talk to me, talk to everybody, right? Like, that is what I've been doing since I've been in office because, again, I want people to know that your elected officials, yes, we're working, and you are to be a part of this process. I'm not a boss. I'm not a celebrity. I'm your partner.
Yeah,
and that's just that. That's my
key.
style, at least, right?
Yeah,
and to me, that's more effective. Yeah, be a part of the process because it's important to know who's responsible for what.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, they tend to assume sometimes. I know some people, they think that I'm a U.S. senator, and I'm not. I'm a state senator. I'm a mimic of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
When someone talks to me about, the safety net stuff that's going on, the young lady at the West Loop event you were talking about, when she was talking about, why they don't have enough funding. Well, when Trump was in office the first time around, they cut the CMS funding, right? They cut it in half, which stopped a lot of funding going to those safety nets, would put more of the burden on the state. Now, when you put more burden on the state, we got to figure out where can we get some more funding to keep them open.
Right. And Senator Collins, I want to pause you there for a second because I do want to talk a little bit more about the money in the economy. And so let's we're actually going to go to our first caller. And again, if anybody else wants to be a part of the show, I can almost guarantee you that we'll get you on here today. So the call-in number is 773-763-9278. Again, it's 773-763-9278. And I'll give it to you one more time. You could also, go to the WCBT 820 website if you can't find it. But again, it's 773-763-9278. We've had Keith with the senator that's been holding for a while, and he wants to talk about economics. So Keith, you are live on the Rickey Hendon radio show. What question do you have or what comment do you want to make with me and the senator?
Appreciate your service, Senator, and thank you, Rickey Henderson, for having me on the show.
Sure thing.
Basically, the Congress is still stuck in kind of like a slave economy, to where the Republicans want to control the money, hold on to the money, because they treat the Congress treat money like slaves. Democrats feel that money should be free to go prosper and build things and create new things and do everything. Republicans feel like they need to control the slaves. They don't want the slaves out of the banks. They want the slaves in the plantations. How do you feel about the economy as a senator on how money is distributed between both parties? Because one party seems to think that no, you build yourself up by the bootstraps and you make your own money, because money is slavery. Money can get you anything in the world, and Donald Trump has proven it. He's saying, with this much money, I can tear down national monuments. I can bomb people. Republicans use money as warriors, as troops. Yeah. If I give you enough of this, you will do whatever I ask. What part of the party, as a senator, do you represent? That's all I want to say. Thanks, Rickey.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, Keith. You go ahead,
I'll take
Senator
my
Collins. Okay, and
So,
I'll follow up after you because I got some strong thoughts on that too. But go ahead, Senator.
Yeah, I would say just as a whole, I mean, I'm a Democrat, but I'm more independent in my thinking. I would say that as the economy as a whole, we have a capitalist problem. I think that, our system when it comes to, the shared wealth is a have and a have-not system. Rich folks want to continue to get rich while poor folks continue to get poor. It's like a hamster wheel. We're producing more. What I see in this country, there's more workers being produced than there is bosses or people that are able to be more independent. And you see that time and time again. I would say that when it comes to priorities, yes, in the state of Illinois, we do prioritize people. Now, folks that I talk to when I'm back at home, some just don't feel it. And that's just the reality. Some don't feel it. And I think it's because we have been hit with so much, left and right, that it's ridiculous. And I try to remind people that, yes, we came out of a recession. We came out of a pandemic something that I know I haven't experienced in my lifetime. And we had to pivot really fast. And we had to buy ventilators because at that time, the current president that we have did not send us any ventilators, didn't send them to any other Democratic states, to be honest with you, because he felt that COVID was a hoax. And again, being in leadership, being in that top position in the executive administration, it's important on who's in those roles because you're speaking to masses of people. So they're going to believe whatever you're saying, right? Yeah. And so if they already have some type of belief that, you know, this is not real and you're telling them to drink bleach, they're going to probably do it. And so that was
please
a hard time to experience.
Please don't.
No, don't do that, right? But no, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I was just organizing workers on the north side down Sheridan Road, where I was watching seniors literally being stacked on top of each other, like literally before I ran for office. Yeah. So COVID was real. I saw it with my own eyes. Had loved ones who got sick, right? Luckily, they're still here with me, but there were plenty of my colleagues and residents that I've worked with that passed away from it. Yeah. And so we had to. So when Biden won and sent all of that federal relief, we were able to, you know, save millions of families here in Illinois. Yeah. And
Senator
so,
Collins,
yes, we.
I just want to pause you real quick. We are at the 4:30 mark.
I'm sorry, Rob.
Do we need to take a commercial break? Can we keep going? We're good? All right. And are you good? Do you have a little bit more time? I know you said you got another commitment.
Yeah, I'll be okay.
Okay.
So, and I'll speed this one up really quick. So,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we had to prioritize a lot of stuff. And then again, you know, so I do believe, yes, our party, Democrats, we do care about people. We give a damn. And so we're going to expand on the need of what people are telling us on the right things. Republicans, and I'm not the type that just the Republican versus Democrat person, but what I will say, they like to consolidate things. They want to keep giving tax breaks to the rich. Right. And with the Democrats, you have different types of Democrats. You have moderate Democrats, you have progressive Democrats, you have further left Democrats. And at the end of the day, when we come to an agreement, it's going to be based on the people and the masses of what we hear. And what we hear is folks want a better healthcare system, better education system. They want, you know, more opportunities to create more jobs. And we've been doing that. Yeah. And we need to do more.
And, you know, Keith, you still with us, Keith?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, and I want to piggyback on a lot of what Senator Collins is saying, but to even go higher level with it, you know, people who tend to be Democrat left-leaning, they tend to be more collectivistic versus on the right, they tend to be more individualistic, right? And one isn't necessarily wrong, right? A lot of people who are in conservative circles will say, hey, well, the most important thing for me is to make sure that I'm taken care of and that my immediate family is taken care of, right? So I always try to take the approach of empathizing with those people and kind of, you know, seeing things through their lens and their shoes and understanding that that is the way through which many of those people see the world. And that's okay. But if you study history, you study game theory, you study economics, you know, capitalism, socialism, all of the different economic platforms, what you learn is for us to all go further, we have to work together, right? You know, we have to, collaborate. And that's ultimately what it's all about. We do have a lot of people calling in, which is fantastic. So, Keith, thank you for calling in. I will, we'll go to our, no worries. And feel free to call in next time. It's great to talk economics. That's like my favorite topic there. So we do have a couple callers calling in, but I think, is this Rickey Senior? I know he doesn't go by Senior, but he's got to go by something. We can't both be Rickey. That's just confusing. He's calling in. And my father, welcome to my show. It's my show today, Dad. Okay? I know you're going through some things. You just got out the hospital. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad to see that you're healthy. But this is my show. What are you calling into my show to say today?
Well, first of all, I'm Hollywood. You're Rickey. I'm Hollywood. Okay. I'm doing great. It's just some tests I had to get done. I had the test done. I'm back home. But I just wanted to say hello to the senator. You guys are doing a great show. I'm sitting back enjoying the show, and it's just good when I can do that and hear the younger people taking over, because that's what we need. So Salute to you, Senator Collins. Rick,
Staying to you, Senator.
Have a great show.
Okay. Thanks, Dad. I'll give you a ring afterwards. And rest up. You feel better. Everybody, say your prayers for Senator Hendon. He is resting up. He's fine. He just had, when you get to a certain age, you get to your 70s, there's all sorts of different things that, will start, bothering you. But he's doing well. It looks like we got some other callers here. So we got two Davids. We got David from San Francisco and David from Chicago. David from San Francisco has been holding a little bit longer. David, welcome to the Rickey Hendon Radio Show. You are with Rickey Jr., Senator Collins on WCPT 820 AM. What would you like to talk about today, David?
Well, there were two different angles now. I had initially called when your guest, the senator, was talking about how difficult it was to communicate with the electorate. Now, I understand she's a state senator, not a U.S. Congress person, but the original Congress, the original Constitution figured out that a congressional district would, the best size of it would be between 25 and 40,000 people. Mm-hmm. And that would be the best use of taxation with representation. And so the original Constitution had a congressman at 30,000 people. Then in the 1800s, that got doubled to 60,000, which was out of the sphere of the Founding Fathers. But then in 1914, Congress decided to the Congress decided to top it out at 435, which means that the electorate becomes bigger and bigger and bigger every day that goes by. Mm-hmm. And so we're well over 700,000 per congressman. And I expect it's probably, being a state senator, those numbers are probably reflective of a territory as opposed to a population. But that problem is something that, if you're trying to get money from the federal government as opposed to just deal with local issues, that issue still gets compounded in the state side. The other thing, that previous caller talking about the traps with the money.
Well, let's take one thing at a time, David. Just so we keep our listeners engaged. While we've got Senator Collins here, you want to talk about just representation and what that looks like for you. And oh, by the way, the 5th district, Senator Collins, right? That is one of the most interesting districts in the city of Chicago, because you have the West Loop, right, which is booming economically, but then you also have Garfield Park, which is where I'm from, where obviously things are developing, right? So can you just talk about that representation, how many people you represent, and just kind of responding to what David said there. And then after that, I do have a bunch of things I want to ramble on. So I don't want to kick you off, but I gotta let some things go. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So for the Senate district, we have 2 state reps. But as a whole, I represent 217,000 constituents. So yes, it's double the work there. And the district is very diverse. I mean, I represent some of the nicest neighborhoods. So I go from the west side. I have the West Loop. As you said, it's booming economically. I have the medical district that's there. I also have the near north side. So, my district is very unique, and I say it's one of the best in the whole state of Illinois. It's like a mini Chicago in one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a great way of looking at it. Well, Senator Collins, anything else that you want to leave us with before you go?
Could I add one thing?
Oh, sure, David. Go ahead.
Oh, well, talking about the problem of money and that money is superseding. In the original, the original days of America, they were very anti-corporate. The 13 colonies, I've heard Ralph Nader give speeches about this. The 13 colonies were actually 13 corporations chartered by the king, and they were sucking the money out of. They were just parasites, and sucking all of the money out of the colonies and sending it over to London. And so the original America was a very anti-corporate concept. The electorate did not like corporations. A bank charter, even into the 1960s, many banks were not allowed to do business across county lines, much less across state lines. And since Reagan, the ability for these companies to have be parasites is a huge thing, and we should look at yanking the corporate charters of companies that are parasites. And it can be done on a county level, it can be done on a state level. But if a company is not looking out for the territory it's given a business license to have, then its business license should be yanked. And that was an old standard. Talk about MAGA. That was an old standard of America.
Yeah,
and,
you got it, David.
So
I do want to pause you because we got some other people calling in, and we do want to wrap up with the senator here as well. But that's actually one of the things that I have on my list of kind of 5 big focus points that I think the Democratic Party should have as a part of our platform. I didn't get to talk about that last week, last time I was on the show. So I'll make sure I talk about that before we end off here. Senator Collins, you want to respond to that and wrap up? I really appreciated you coming on here today.
Well, I definitely want to make sure that, because I think we're missing the part about SNAP benefits.
That was my number one topic.
I'm really trying to push out there as far as the SNAP benefits is concerned. So I think there's a lot of misconception going on with that, too. November 1st is due to the shutdown. And December 1st is going to be due to the changes that were made to the big ugly bill. And so I think there's 2 things there that folks need to be really, really concerned about. I am very concerned. We are trying to figure some things out here at the state. And that is why I think, when it comes to policy, people have to pay attention because that big ugly bill, it does a lot of damage to families. And I know my district in particular, even with the Medicaid and the Medicare getting cut, out of 217,000 people, 93,000 are going to lose their health care. That's detrimental. That's just on top of losing their security when it comes to food. And so, I'm glad you're talking about this, Rickey Jr., but I really feel like people are not going to feel this until it actually hit. And it's hitting during a time where the holidays are coming up. Yeah. And people have already been living in some form of survival mode. And I feel like this is going to be even more chaotic. And I see some people laughing about this stuff on social media or telling people that, they shouldn't be on food stamps, or I use food stamps for, a small amount of time, but then I pulled myself up and I didn't have to depend on it anymore. That's just not the case for that's not the case for everybody. Absolutely. At the end of the day, the state is being put in this position. This is a manufactured crisis, and that is what it is. And that is to create the chaos so that he can send the troops in. And I think people need to see that this is bigger than what we think this is. This is a full-on attack on everybody, right? And so I'm out here fighting every single day. I'm out here working with some of these amazing organizations. I'm sure you're doing the exact same thing. I see you on Facebook all the time. But I think our people really, really need to tap in. And ways they can do that is, 1, volunteer with your representative office. Get connected with one of these organizations. Our food depositories and other organizations who are addressing food insecurity, they are not going to be able to handle this crisis that's coming our way. They're not. These lines are already getting long. Federal workers are off. Democrats are not at fault for this shutdown. They are not going to bend because they are what the Republicans have been trying to do and what they've been doing since Obamacare, which is the ACA, came out, is try to kill that bill, which would take away health care from millions of people across the country, not just folks in Chicago and Illinois, but also in rural communities, too. And
Senator,
the state cannot handle that burden.
You just made me think of a really good point. So, Go ahead. I'll let you wrap up. But I just thought a really good point I thought about. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I think that what Democrats are doing right now, they're holding the line, but they're not the reason for this. Republicans have the supermajority. They got the House, they got the Senate, they got the presidency, and you got a Supreme Court that is majority Republican, okay? And they have already made it legal to profile people because of how they look and the language that they speak. This is what a dictatorship looks like. I've never experienced it in my lifetime, but throughout history and other countries that I have researched, we are already in motion right now. And so what he's trying to do even now is steal these elections. And folks got to get out. They got to vote. They got to do some research. And they just got to have these tough conversations. And they got to look at it, what's best for you? Because I know for me, I don't want to see nobody go hungry. I know what that feels like. I've lived through that. I know what it's like to be homeless. I lived through that. I don't want to see that happen to anybody. And so I'm happy with what our administration is doing right now, standing in line, speaking out. And I think everybody else has to do the same thing, too.
Amazing. Senator Lakeisha Collins, everybody representing the 5th District here in Chicago, my father's former district. Thank you for your time so much. Sincerely, Senator, and for everything you do. I know it is hard work. It's a 24/7. It's like a 24/8 job, if I'm being real with you. I mean, I know. I never did it, but, I lived that with my father. So thank you so much. And what else you got going on today, if you want to share?
I'm just, like I said, I'm getting myself ready. And then I got some stuff to do with my close friends, celebrate their birthday with them as well.
Oh, you're about to pop out?
Yeah.
Okay. I
ain't popping out like that now. I'm getting older. But I also want to mention, too, because I don't think we talk about it enough, but reparations, that's still on the table. That's still non-negotiable, too, right? But like I said, there's so many things happening, so many layers to peel back. But I really do feel that civic engagement is something that we have to prioritize because only 19% of Americans know who represent them. That is a problem.
It certainly is. Well, thank you so much, Senator Collins. You have a great rest of your evening. And if anybody wants to connect with Senator Lakeisha Collins, feel free to, you could probably tell them better than I could, but, add her on Facebook. Instagram, like obviously you can reach out, find out who your local representatives are, right? Can you name them all? You know what I mean? Like they all have some level of impact over your life, whether you know it or not, right? And work with them, right? Engage in the process. Maybe run for office yourself if that's something you're passionate about. But thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you too, and you have a good day.
All right, you take care. Senator Lakeisha Collins, everybody. Man, that time just flies, man. We used to do 2 hours on this show back in the day, and even then it felt like sometimes the time just just went. Because I almost thought about having maybe another guest at some point in this show. I'm like, no, it's too much. Like it's so fast. But we do have people calling in. David, I see you holding there. Thanks for calling in. If anybody else wants to call in, we'll get to your call. The call number is 773-763-9278. Again, 773-763-9278. But with that said, there's a couple topics that I wanted to talk about here. I also wanted to talk about SNAP benefits. It's even insane that we even have to be having this conversation, Henry. Like the fact that people need to choose, at least with this government, between their health care and their food.
It's not a choice that anyone should have to make.
No,
especially in the richest country,
it's the cruelty is the point. And I think that's probably, if there was one sentence to summarize this entire administration so far, the cruelty is clearly the point to a lot of this. Because like you said, there's no reason why we can send Argentina $40 billion, but we can't give people their SNAP, right? And by the way, for all these people out there that say, you know what, SNAP, food stamps, instead of entitlement program, over 70% of the people who receive SNAP work.
Yep. Yeah, literally.
They work. And the people who don't are typically children, elderly, disabled.
Yes, people who can't work.
Maybe they're between jobs, right? They work multiple jobs.
It's everybody.
And again, we pay enough in taxes. What do you want your money to go towards? I know some people think we shouldn't have a federal government at all. We shouldn't pay any taxes. Well, okay, you're going to be living in the jungle then if that's what you want, because you have to pay taxes to have a society.
Yes.
Right? But it can't go towards food and towards helping people and towards our health care. I travel the world a lot, and I've gone to countries that are a lot happier than us, right? I've gone to the Scandinavian countries. I've gone to Costa Rica. I've gone to Canada. I've gone to Japan. And I've been to England, right? And one of the unifying factors that those countries have is, at the very least, they have free healthcare.
Yeah.
And then also they make sure that their public transit is publicly funded. And they make sure that the people have food insecurity.
Providing for the people that pay into this is, what a concept.
Yeah. But we don't. For what reason? Why? Where is the money going? Where is it going? Why are we spending millions of dollars bombing boats in Venezuela and Colombia? Right? Okay, even if, let's just say worst case scenario, those are drug boats, which I seriously doubt, because on one of the boats they bombed, 2 people survived and they just sent them back to their origin countries. Wait, so you're telling me that we made the decision that it was worthwhile to bomb and kill these people, but when they survived, we were like, well, clearly you're not criminals enough for us to hold you captive, so we're just going to send you back.
Yeah.
Whereas normally you would bring them here and you would bring them and hold them to international court, right?
Yep.
So, that's a whole nother conversation. And hopefully we don't end up going to war with Venezuela. But history, unfortunately, repeats itself, doesn't it, Henry? And haven't we seen this before? The war on drugs.
And it justified us going into other places too.
Reagan, the 80s. And then that led to all those issues in Colombia. And then we saw that. And, I do also acknowledge the fact that doesn't Venezuela have the most oil of any other country on Earth?
Yeah, I think that is true. I think they do, in fact.
Yeah, actually, I don't think that's true. That is true.
Wow.
You can Google it.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Didn't we go to some wars in the 2000s where some of those countries we didn't need to have made because they didn't have weapons of mass destruction, but
they did have something there, maybe oil?
Yeah, and we disrupted their oil.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And that was almost 20, 25 years later or earlier. And here we are again. People recognize the patterns, okay? Recognize the patterns. This is the same playbook, I mean, I can go on about that. There's a couple other things. David, let's go to you, man. You've been holding for a long time with us here. Welcome to the Rickey Hendon Radio Show. What do you want to talk about today, brother?
Okay, I want to make my point real quick, and I'm wait for your answer.
Sure.
Since the first time in my 92 years living in this country that I have seen a felon in the White House. 34 convicted on 34 counts. Never happened. He should have been blocked. Then you have a Secretary of Health and Human Service, Robert Kennedy Jr., former drug addict, former pusher at Harvard University. So therefore, he should not be in government. He's a criminal, just like his boss, Donald Trump. And the people that are out here that can't get a job that's got felonies, they should be erased. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I appreciate you calling in, and feel free to stay with us if you want. But, I mean, you bring up a good point, right? Obviously, Donald Trump broke the laws in a lot of different ways. He does it every day. I was just thinking about the National Guard. It is law that the governor orders the National Guard into these states. And we're just so conditioned and used to Trump just breaking the law all the time that we just kind of go along with it. But that's not the way it's supposed to be. And it's been that way. He just breaks the Constitution left and right. So you're right, David. He is a convicted criminal. And another thing, and this is, now we're about to go down the rabbit hole, but you guys brought me on here. This is what happens when you bring in your young guests that aren't afraid to say certain things. You look at the fact that twice now in the last 2-3 months, Donald Trump has said on video that he might be willing to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell.
Right.
The co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein, the most notorious PEDO in America. Right. He has said twice now that he is open to pardoning her. And keep in mind, his was not his attorney general, but his deputy attorney general, Todd Blanche, basically met with Ghislaine Maxwell, and then they moved her to a low security prison. Interesting. So, and this is why sometimes with conservatives, I'm starting to lose a little bit of my empathy for them, because how is it that you allow this man to say that he is going to potentially pardon somebody who is guilty of these crimes.
Yes. Like literally.
The worst crimes that we can even think about.
Literally. Like that's the crime that I feel like everybody should be able to get behind and be like, this is terrible. This needs to be stopped at all costs. But
on camera,
yes,
multiple times, saying that he might pardon this person after she was already moved to a low security prison after meeting with his former, technically personal attorney.
Like, what are we doing here, people?
You know, and so David, going back to your point, they are criminals, and I think that's the point. And it is mind-boggling on the Kennedy front. He's one of the most frustrating political figures that I can remember because, David, you said you're 92, so I'm sure, you lived through the assassination of his father and his uncle, JFK, right? And you know what they stood for. Those men died fighting for civil rights.
Absolutely.
Those men died horribly fighting for better lives for people. And, Kennedy knows better on some of these things, but, maybe all the drugs that he's so proud of having done, fried his brain a little bit. Clearly something's wrong with the guy. But I will just say this real quick on the vaccine front because people have very strong opinions on it. If you go back 100 years before modern Western medicine specifically, because Eastern medicine existed too, if you go back 100 years, the average person lived to about the age 40.
Yeah.
Or 45.
Yes.
Okay. And David, you said you're 92, right?
Right.
Okay. And now the average person lives into their 70s or 80s or closer to 80s and even their 70s, right?
Yeah.
So clearly, while yes, there are a lot of things to question with the American medical system. Yes, the pharmaceutical companies, Purdue Pharma, the Sackler family, yes, they have been responsible for some of the worst epidemics that we have had here that have been man-made and manufactured. But overall, trust the people that have dedicated their lives to helping others. Okay?
Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here.
American medicine is not perfect, and there are certainly times where there needs to be a melding between American medicine and Eastern medicine.
Right.
But I will remind you of the fact that before we have what we have today, people lived almost half as long. And that's not my opinion. Those are the facts. So, David, we got a couple more minutes. Anything else that you want to say? I know you said you kind of dropped the mic when you...
One more thing quickly.
Sure.
Kennedy's whole family turned against him because they know he's wrong. And he shouldn't be in the job of health and human services. That's all I got to say. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you as well, David. Well, there's one other thing I want to touch on here that I think is really important, and that is what we do moving forward, right? The Democratic Party needs their own version of Project 2025.
Right.
Period. I don't know what you want to call it. I mean, if you really want to, take their marketing and utilize that, call it Project 2028.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, D Project. I don't know. I haven't thought of a marketing name for it yet. I'd probably sit down with some people that are smarter than me and kind of come up with something. But we got to come up with a platform. And for me, these are 5 things that I've kind of thought about. Some are more sales oriented in terms of just getting it done and getting it passed and getting people behind it.
Right.
But some are things that we've been fighting for a long time. Number 1, I personally am not supporting any Democratic platform that does not include universal health care.
Right.
I'm sorry. That has to be in there. I don't care what else you have to say. If it doesn't start with that, I'm done with it because I've traveled the world enough to know that this is something that we absolutely need to have. I know there's a lot of people employed by the, insurance industry, but that money needs to be going towards people's actual health.
Exactly.
Right. And there are ways that we could potentially repurpose some of those people to be a part of that system.
Right.
But this clearly isn't working, even for those people and their families. I'm sure they had people who they've lost because
they got denied coverage or whatever, You know what
I mean? So it hurts even them too. So we have to find a way to get to that. That's the first thing. Second one, this is important to me because I grew up in a low income community. But free breakfast and lunch for school kids.
Yes.
Anybody that attends any kind of public school, that K through university, right? Because university kids struggle sometimes too.
Yeah.
And why should we live in the richest country in the world and our kids are struggling?
Exactly.
That's one more reason we're falling behind China and some of these other countries because we have kids going to school hungry. Like that is insane in America. And it is not a huge part of our budget to be able to make that happen. I know there are some federal laws to make sure that public schools get a certain amount, but free breakfast and lunch is not guaranteed. That needs to be a part of the platform. Let's not leave children out of it because they're not voters. They're important too.
Agreed.
They're our future.
Absolutely.
That's number 2. Price caps, price cap regulation. This is the thing that fixes America economically overnight, right? Mm-hmm. You can do antitrust laws and break up big companies. That takes forever. Mm-hmm. You can do taxes, and then that money goes to the federal government, and then it might come back to you, or you might get a Donald Trump who might not bring it back.
Yeah.
So price caps is important. Ban stock trading. I think that's pretty standard and more money out of politics.
Yeah.
And then finally, free college or trade school, so that if you don't like your economic situation,
right,
you at least have the means to be able to change it.
Exactly.
We are running out of time. Man, it flies. It just flies.
It does.
We might have to go to 2 hours, Dad. We might have to go to 2 hours. Kidding. But that's all I got today. Thank you all for listening in to the Rickey Hendon Radio Show. This has been Rickey Hendon Jr. The Senator will be back next time. But if you want to connect with me, add me on Facebook, Rickey Hendon Jr. But thank you all for listening in. God bless. And, let's stay optimistic because we can make change. It's going to take everybody to be a part. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.
The preceding program, The Rickey Hendon Show, is provided by Rickey Hendon.